What's going on, guys, and welcome to the start of my career mode on F1 2016. It's been a long time coming, but we can finally get underway here with my career mode. Just showing you my initial profile creation. I've sped it up, obviously. I've missed out the initial cutscenes with the agent and the research and development guy. Team I'm going with is Scuderia Toro Rosso, and I'm going to show you in a moment my first sort of research and development upgrade for the car, which I believe is engine power, which I know is lacking in the Red Bull and the Toro Rosso as well. So without further ado, let's go to qualifying for the first race of the season, which is the Australian Grand Prix.
Welcome to Melbourne, where qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix should be getting underway shortly.
So here we are on board for my first qualifying lap of this career mode at the Australian Grand Prix. Coming over the start finish line now, building up to just shy of 200 miles an hour, braking just before the 100 metre board. I slightly cut the corner there at turn 1, which was a bit disappointing. Full throttle through turn 2, DRS now on the straight towards turn 3. You keep it in 7th gear and then down to 2nd, and then building up the traction towards turn 4, I think we are at now. That was in 3rd gear. Building up now to 6th gear and full throttle through this right-hander. That brings you to the end of the first sector. You're then braking down to 3rd gear for this right-hander. I run slightly wide there onto the curb on the outside, which definitely lost me a bit of time. Now through this flat-out right-hander before another right-hander, a 90-degree right-hander, down to 3rd gear. This left-hander is quite difficult to get right on the traction. As you can see there, I lose the back end slightly going through that corner. And now we're building up to 185, almost 190 miles an hour before this left-right chicane, which you can make up quite a lot of time through there if you get that section right. Building up to 8th gear now for another 90-degree right-hander, braking at about the 100 metre board, down to 3rd gear, a bit of oversteer on the exit, and now staying, actually dropping down to 4th for that right-hander, and once again losing the back end. Left-hander, penultimate corner, probably the slowest on the track, about 55 miles an hour, and then building up the traction through the final corner before getting on the DRS, and over the start finish line we go for a 127.9, I think that was, and that's going to see us qualify in 15th place, which is a bit of a disappointment. I had expected and hoped to be maybe in about 12th place. It'll be interesting to see where my teammate is, who is, by the way, Danny Kvyat, I believe. Yeah, it is Danny Kvyat, and he actually qualified behind us, so we've out-qualified him by a couple of tenths of a second there, which is a good thing, but on the whole I would have liked to be up around where Grosjean and Button were. And really, when you look at it, a tenth of a second might have gained us 3 or 4 extra places on the grid.
They say that even a second is an eternity in Formula One, so going 4 winter months with no racing at all has seemed a very long time indeed. We're back though in Melbourne, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996.
So there was David Croft's introduction to the Melbourne Australian Grand Prix, the first race of this season. A quick look at the strategy here for this 25% race. Super softs onto the soft tyre at about lap 6. I'm underfueling the car slightly because I think really with the Toro Rosso I want to be able to gain as much time as I can through the corners, because it's more of a downforce car than a power car. So partly with the setup on the car and also with the lighter fuel load, I think we'll be able to achieve that. So we're on the formation lap for the first race of this championship, which we're just coming towards the end of now. What awaits us in this season, we're about to start finding out with the 2 Haas cars ahead of me, and we're going to line up now in our grid slot and wait for the cars behind, including my teammate Daniel Kvyat, to take their places on the grid and wait for the lights to come on for the first time in this career mode. 5 red lights and we're underway in this career mode. It's not been the best of starts. The 2 Haas cars are getting away from me. Kvyat looks to be close alongside and has actually overtaken me, and we're going to have a look around the outside of Gutierrez, and we've got ahead of him, and there's a couple of cars going slowly up ahead. There's yellow flags as well. I don't know what that's for, but we're racing again, and we're up the inside of Grosjean and potentially Button as well. We make that move, stick into 12th place, and we're behind the Force Indias of Hulkenberg and Perez in 10th and 9th, 11th and 10th rather. And we're on lap 2 now, and we sort of look up the inside of Hulkenberg, but we back out of that move because that would have ended up in contact for sure. And now we move on to lap 3, still in this train of cars, and we've gone up the inside of Nico Hulkenberg for 11th place. Traction still not great coming out of that corner, but we've now got the other Force India of Sergio Perez ahead of us. And now this is on lap 4. We're going through the start of the second sector, and we didn't get a good exit there at all, and Hulkenberg is going to get back ahead of us for 11th place. We tried to cut back on him there, but we didn't get a good enough exit, so Hulkenberg is going to pull away from us now in 11th place, with us in 12th, with Romain Grosjean behind us in the Haas, which is better for top speed than our car. So really we need to be going well at this stage of the race, but it's not happening. We're getting overtaken here by Grosjean around the outside on lap 5, although he gives us the room to come back at him, but then we bang wheels and run a little bit wide, and that allows Grosjean to go ahead of us, and Jenson Button as well, and Gutierrez. But we make a late braking move around the outside to get back ahead of Gutierrez, and now we're still side by side with Jenson Button, but again around the outside we managed to hold on. Button's still there on the outside of us, but we've got the inside line there, and we are going to hold on to 13th place for now. I actually thought Jenson Button was still on the inside of me there because of the proximity arrows, but he was actually going into the pits, and we've gone in a lap later now. This is lap 6, and we're pitting from super soft tyres onto the softs for the remaining 9 laps of this race. And Grosjean gets out ahead of us as we expected. And now coming up out of the pits, it's going to be interesting to see where we are in relation to Jenson Button. It looks like we're going to be ahead of him, but we lose the back end again coming out of the pit lane, and that's allowed Button through. So that's a move for position. What position that is, we're not quite sure yet, although we've made slight contact there with Jenson, and that's allowed us to get back ahead. Not the cleanest of moves, but at this stage we're not sure really what position we're in. We were in about 14th place, I believe, 13th or 14th, and now on lap 7 going on to lap 8 there's a few cars leaving the pit lane. We're in 15th place now, still with the Haas of Grosjean ahead of us, as we're just going over the halfway point of this race. And further on into lap 8, we just very quickly looked at the fuel settings there. We haven't actually made up as much fuel as we expected, because like I said, we started light, and I was thinking that we would be able to make that up during the race, but that's not really been the case. We're still light on fuel. You can see the yellow indicator there in the bottom right, and we just saw Magnussen leaving the pits in the Renault. He started on the soft tyres, moving on to the super soft, so we'd expect him to be quicker towards the end of the race, and his teammate Jolyon Palmer has done the same thing but pitted a lap later. So this is now lap 11, and we're in 13th place with Jenson Button not too far behind, but you can see that we're starting to lose our tyres, and we're still 0.3 laps down on fuel. And now on lap 12, Jenson Button trying to go up the inside of us, but once again we hold on to a position around the outside to stay 13th for the time being. We've got about 3.5 laps left to go in this Grand Prix, and really at this stage it's about trying to maintain the position that we're in. Coming towards the start of lap 13, Jenson Button's got DRS, and he's going to move to the inside and outbrake us into turn 1, and really we had to let that go, because otherwise if we'd have tried to hold on to that position around the outside, I think we would have gone onto the grass. We just don't have the grip, and you can see still 0.2 of a lap down on fuel. We've got to put it in lean, and that's going to leave us pretty much at the mercy of the guys behind, Gutierrez and Magnussen in the Renault, who's quicker than all of us on the super softs. This is further into lap 13 now, and Gutierrez surely now is going to get past us. We're in lean mixture, and he just flies past us around the outside, and I don't know what happened to my recording there, but something went wrong, and I apologise for that, but nothing really happened in those two corners that we missed. And we're in 15th place now with Magnussen trying to get past us, which he is about to do around the outside. We've got DRS, but in lean mixture we just can't compete with the Haas and the Renault, although we did manage to stay ahead of Magnussen for the time being. This is lap 14, and that's a big snap of oversteer coming out of that corner where we've struggled the whole race, and we were even on the grass for a moment there, so Magnussen was clearly going to get ahead of us, and that really was our race. Bit of a disappointing first effort. We started 15th, we've actually moved back into 16th place. We're still going to finish ahead of our teammate Kvyat, but really not a very strong showing here in our first race. We crossed the line in 16th place, and a bit of a disappointing performance to start off this career mode. I think we've got a lot to learn, a lot to make up going into the races ahead.
And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, I think the track conditions just really suited their car today. Wind, track temperature, you name it. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature. So the more easily you can keep them there, the better your race tends to go. And that's exactly what happened. Their car just looks so comfortable out there.
I think Anthony Davidson made a good point there in terms to track conditions contributing to the feel of the tyres in the race, and we just didn't have any confidence in our setup there. I don't know if that's down to tyres or if that's just down to the way we were driving, but yeah, disappointing result for us. Lewis Hamilton wins, leading a Mercedes 1-2, pretty much as you'd expect up at the front at the moment. We'll have to see with the driver development whether or not we can get up to those guys eventually. This is just a quick update on the rivalry, which we are leading 12-7 so far on Danny Kvyat. And I'm just going to show you in a moment our position within the team as well. And unfortunately we've actually dropped back a little bit because of not meeting our targets in terms of our positioning and in the Drivers' Championship as well. So guys, thank you very much for watching this first episode, and I look forward to seeing you guys for round 2, which is the Bahrain Grand Prix.